Hey everybody. So today we're going to be talking about buying a new car. What kind of car should you get if you're going to drive Uber and Lyft? How much should you spend? What are the best cars? We're going to go through a bunch of different things. I got some notes here that I'm going to follow along with because this is a little bit in depth and I want to stay on track with everything. So yeah, stick around, watch this video. If you're in the market for a new car with Uber drivers, I feel like we're almost always in a market for a new car. Whether you're buying new, whether you're buying used, we're going to answer what your cap should be as far as what I think you should cap your spending at for buying a new car. We're going to answer all those questions. So stick around and watch the video, and hopefully it helps some people out. All right, so first we're going to talk about used cars. Let's say you're looking for a used car and you're trying to keep your budget under $25,000. This should come as no surprise. The number one recommended vehicle is the 2019 to 2022 Toyota Prius. Great gas mileage, affordable. Insurance tends to be a little bit lower. It's just a great all-around vehicle. I've only ever driven the Prius when I was on vacation and we rented one, and it drove nice. I mean, it was a really nice car. And I think the entire vacation, I maybe spent $10 in gas, if that. We didn't do a whole lot of driving, of course, but I put $10 in, I think, something like, $8 to $10 when I was all said and done, when I was done with it. It's a great car. So if you're looking for a used vehicle, and I'm all for getting used cars when they have all the inspections and you're buying from a reputable dealer and things like that. That's why I'm a huge fan of CarMax. CarMax is a great place to get a used car. You pay a little bit more for it at the end of the day, but like everything in life, you get what you pay for. So don't overlook CarMax in any way, shape, or form. So the next car it mentions, and this is, again, this should be no surprise, is the Toyota Camry Hybrid, 2019 to 2022. Great vehicles. Again, I've rented that car too, and it drove real nice. It's got a lot of leg room in it. Now, of course, with both these vehicles, you're pretty much limited to Uber X and regular Lyft. But I think it might qualify for comfort. I don't know. Let me look real quick. But even if it doesn't qualify for comfort, it's still a good vehicle. Do these cars qualify for comfort? Let's see. Does the Toyota Prius qualify? Toyota Prius can qualify for Uber Comfort as long as it's generally 5 to 7 years. Okay, so according to Google, it does, and both of them do. So anyway, again, these are great cars. You're going to have a lower car payment. You're going to have probably lower operating costs because they get such great gas mileage. Insurance is probably going to be fairly affordable with both of them, and the maintenance might not be as high as, for example, if you had like a Hyundai Palisade or some other bigger vehicle, maybe like a Sienna or something like that. And again, Toyotas are really reliable vehicles. I wouldn't run right out and buy something, like a small American-made car, like a Chevy or a Ford. I've been down that road. Doesn't seem to ever work out. All right, so in the next car they're talking about here, without a doubt, and I know people are going to agree with me here, is the Honda Accord, the hybrid, the 2020 to the 2022. My neighbor has a Honda Accord, and he's been driving this thing now he doesn't drive Uber and Lyft, but he's in sales, and he does drive a lot of miles, and he has been driving this vehicle for, God, it feels like, I don't know, forever, maybe 15 years or more. It's an old car, and it is garage kept, I will say that. And he's always out there working on it, doing oil changes and things like that he does himself. But it's a great car. It's affordable. You're going to have a lower car payment with it. You're going to probably get great gas mileage. anything hybrid, especially nowadays with everything that's going on in the world, anything hybrid is probably going to be your best bet. I would not go, this is just my personal opinion, I would not want to go fully electric right now, but I wouldn't want to go fully gas either. I mean, I'm in a fully gas vehicle. It's not a hybrid. It's a 2025, something like that. Hyundai Palisade. I average right around 23, 24 miles to the gallon overall combined. And I think I could do much better with a hybrid. I really do. So, and when you're doing rideshare or any kind of gig economy job, app-based job, you really want to pay attention to your fuel costs, because they're going to be probably next to your car payment or your insurance payment. They're going to be much higher than your insurance payment. They're your biggest costs week over week. That's what you're going to spend the money on, is in fuel. Okay. The Toyota Corolla hybrid, I don't know about this. I think you probably only qualify for Uber X. I don't know for sure. Drop a comment, let me know if you know. I just think for the money, you could probably do better. It's number 4 on the list, 2020 to 2023. But if I was going out and getting into this, or I was going to go and buy a new car, I would want the Prius, the Camry, maybe the next car that's on the list, which is the RAV4 hybrid. I would look for those. Now, are you going to get a RAV4 hybrid in that budget, $20,000 or less? I don't think so, unless it's a little bit older, but you never know. I mean, you might get lucky and find something. If what you want to do, and this is what all of us want to do, your lowest operating cost vehicle is probably going to be the Prius. They're super popular. They get really great gas mileage. They're relatively easy to maintain. They're just all around a good car to do rideshare with. Now, you're not going to get XL rides. I don't know if it qualifies for comfort. I think the newer ones may. If I'm wrong, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But anyway, your overall operating costs are going to be so much less that you're still probably going to be profitable at the end of the day. And of course you're getting that massive new tax write-off, which was 72.5 cents per mile for the standard mileage deduction, which is now 76 cents a mile, I believe. Let me check that to double check. New standard mileage deduction as of July 1st. Let's see. Yeah, 76 cents. So for business use, you're writing off 76 per mile, 76 cents per mile for business use. So for Uber drivers, that's absolutely fantastic. Okay. Look, you're not going to go out there and become a billionaire or a millionaire driving Uber, but you can't. Well, maybe you could if you were able to save enough money over a long enough career. But 76 cents a mile. Yes, Uber pays less than that sometimes. Okay, but you should have enough deductions that you drastically reduce your tax burden and make some money. And the reason being is because if you combine driving to pick up the passenger along with driving to drop that passenger off, you are usually far lower, okay, than what you're being paid, far lower than the 76 cents a mile, or you're right there. So at the end of the day, you've really, and again, I'm not an accountant, but I do know what my history with driving rideshare has been like. And at the end of the day, you go to an accountant, you use some kind of software, you put all your miles in there. That's another thing, track your miles. Download any app, just track them. You put all your stuff in there, and at the end of the day, your tax burden should be drastically reduced. So if you're not already doing that, you need to track your miles, track your expenses. There's plenty of apps out there to do it. I mean, gosh, you could go and get a notebook and just write it down if you wanted to. All right. So I would have to say another good vehicle, and this is probably going to be my next car, is going to be the Toyota Sienna minivan. It's either going to be the Toyota Sienna and it's going to be hybrid. So it's either going to be the Sienna or it's going to be the Kia Carnival, the new Kia Carnival that's hybrid. And I will say this, I do like the Kia Carnival simply because they have a 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty for the battery, you know, having that 100,000 mile warranty, it may not sound like much, but it's a big deal to me. If there is an issue, I want to be able to go in and say, hey, if this is related to a warranty, you know, please fix it. I don't want to sit there. I try to put away $100 a week and save that. And when you have a 100,000 mile warranty on a brand new car, it goes a long, long way. So again, I'm going to go over these again, and it's the Toyota Prius, which should be no surprise, the Camry Hybrid, the Honda Accord Hybrid, the Toyota Corolla Hybrid, and the RAV4 Hybrid. So when you think about this, all these cars pretty much have the hybrid in common, okay? That's telling you something. And I did a lot of my research between Claude and ChatGPT, a little bit with Gemini. But they're all saying the same thing. And these are all no-brainers, to be very honest with you. But one thing it does talk about is this. If you're going to go out and let's say you want to go get a new car and you think to yourself, I don't know where to set my budget. I don't know, anything like that. One of the repeating themes while doing my research is try to set the maximum amount that you're going to spend for a vehicle on one of two things, either 1 week's pay, driving full time, or 1 year's salary. So if you drive full time, let's say you make $50,000 a year, don't spend over 50 grand for a car. If you drive, full time and you're making $600-800 a week because you're just in a really bad market or you're not putting a lot of effort into it, you don't want a car payment that's way above that. As a matter of fact, you want to try and get the lowest car payment that you can possibly get. And sometimes that's a little difficult with Uber drivers. I think a lot of lenders really kind of frown upon Uber drivers. Again, let me know if you know otherwise. I have never had an issue with a car loan or anything like that, but I do things a little bit differently under different circumstances. So I don't want to try and compare my experience with purchasing a vehicle than your experience, because it's undoubtedly going to be much, much different. So with that being said, I hope this helps some people out. I hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel if you're looking for a new vehicle and you think to yourself, I don't want to go out and spend a lot of money. You can get some used cars for affordable prices. You just have to do some looking. And again, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me about this, but I'm not against buying a new car to do Uber and Lyft. One thing in mind, if you are going to do that, you got to be a full-time driver. Buying a new car to do Uber and Lyft with, and then only driving Uber or Lyft or any other of these gig app jobs and using a brand new car to do it and only doing it part-time, you're wasting money, you're losing money, because at that point, if you're a part-time worker, you're really worried about the depreciation value of that vehicle over a 5 or 7 year period of time. And those extra miles are going to affect you much, much differently than a full-time worker or a full-time, gig driver or gig app worker. And the reason being is because you can look at that vehicle differently. Number one, you're looking at it as a tool to generate income. And number two, over the life of the vehicle that you use it for, whether you use it for 3 years, 5 years, whatever it may be, you're going to pull so much more money out of that vehicle than you would have gained if you would have driven hardly no miles at all and not worked any, you know what I mean? So your vehicle is going to depreciate in value over a 5 year period, no matter what you do, whether you drive right up the road 3 miles to work at, 7-Eleven or Giant Grocery or whatever it is, or whether you go out and drive Uber or Lyft. Yes, it's going to depreciate quicker driving Uber and Lyft, but if you do Uber and Lyft full time, you're going to extract any amount of money that you would have gotten back or made because you kept the depreciation lower by not driving the vehicle, you're going to make a lot more money from that car than you would have gained through limiting your depreciation value. I mean, think about it for a second. You know, if you drive, I mean, I think if you make $50,000 a year doing Uber and Lyft, and you drive that car for 5 years, you're making so much more money off of that car than you would have gotten if you'd have just kept the depreciation value low. So think about that for a second. Those of you who complain about depreciating your vehicle, it's almost like you can't see the forest for the trees. So if you think about it, you change your mindset and you really look at the numbers and talk to ChatGPT, Claude, any of these AIs, they're going to tell you what the scoop is. So, all right. So if anybody has any questions, of course, you're welcome. And I really appreciate comments. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out. And I hope everybody goes out there and makes some money. And I'll see everybody in the next video.